Fights we need to see in 2022. Guys, smash that like button if you're new, subscribe to the channel, and turn those post notifications on. And let's talk about some fights that I really feel like we need in 2022. The first one has to be Jon Jones versus whomever the heavyweight champion is. Cyril versus Francis Ngannou happens at the end of this month. I'm really intrigued to see that fight. Early lean, it's hard to go against Francis Ngannou with the knockout power. Cyril, the best technical heavyweight we've ever seen. I have no final prediction for you guys right now. Jon Jones against either of them is going to be in the most difficult matchup of his entire career. If he fights Cyril, he's fighting a guy who's about the same range, taller than himself, probably superior in the striking department from range. I'd say most definitely. You got a guy that's undefeated in kickboxing, Muay Thai competition. On the opposite side, if it's Francis, you have the touch of death, and he's shown takedown defense. Jon Jones at heavyweight, best methods of victory, I really believe, is going back to the roots, which is wrestling, getting on top of these guys and grinding them out. A lot easier said than done. Cyril does not struggle with takedown defense. Francis Ngannou has improved his wrestling by far. You saw that against Stipe Miocic, able to even get Stipe down. I feel like Jon Jones against either of these men is going to be outsized by a fair margin. The strength differential, and I feel like early lean, Jon Jones gets knocked out by Francis if that happens. And I think that Cyril can also stop Jon Jones. Jon Jones is the greatest light heavyweight that has ever lived. Probably the greatest fighter ever, regardless, with the drug testing situations. But size is a legitimate factor. I know Jon is putting on muscle to move up in weight. I don't know. It might be a little bit too late now, especially the fight against Reyes. Matching up against Cyril I see the speed of as a factor. He's a super quick heavyweight. He's light on his feet. He's extremely technical. I feel like that's a fight that I would dream to see, and I have a feeling that's the fight the UFC wants. Francis Ngannou obviously being in the last fight of his contract, but if he defends the belt against will have one more, and I believe that would potentially be the Jones fight. Could be a great send-off for Francis, especially if he wins. Jones, imagine he dethrones Ngannou with that. Either way, Jon Jones fighting for a heavyweight title in 2022 is a must for me. I don't think he needs a warm-up, tune-up fight. Give him the shot. This is the greatest light heavyweight ever. Let's see how he fares against the new blood of the heavyweight division. Now, the second fight that I really feel like we need to see, I want to see Cejudo back in action, and I want to see him fight Petr Yan. If Yan can get through Sterling, which I believe most of us will agree he will, I have to see that fight. I'm so intrigued by that matchup. Cejudo left the division before having to face the true boogeyman in Petr Yan. I know he's called for Volkanovski, but I don't think that's a realistic fight for him to get. Volk has not shown a ton of interest in that. At this point, I could see Volk, if he beats Max Holloway, jumping up and fighting at 155, maybe somehow squeaking his way into a title fight there. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. Obviously, there's guys in line, but the UFC is going to go with the business move. Obviously, Volkanovski hasn't been the best of sellers, but if he beats Holloway for a third time, it's going to be hard to deny this guy whatever he wants. Cejudo versus Yan at 135 is a true super fight of the best bantamweights we have seen in a very long time. I know Cejudo's been out of the game for a bit. Now he's, assisting with training fighters, which is awesome. I really think, though, he can go for one more. And him and Petr Yan would be an off-the-charts fight. If anybody in the world at 135 can beat Yan, it's going to be Henry Cejudo. That elite level wrestling game will come into play. The boxing skill set is there. It's on a similar level to Petr Yan. Maybe Yan, though, does have some speed advantages, some crispier boxing, I would truly say, though Cejudo can box his ass off. It's a fight I need to see. If I had to throw an early lean, it's hard to pick against Yan because he's looked like the true boogeyman out there. I think that Cejudo, though, has a legitimate chance to beat him coming back. That's a fight I need to see in 2022, but it might be a bit of a stretch. This next one, I really feel like is a realistic one. Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier. Let's make this fight happen. It was booked a couple of years back. It was supposed to be a super fight. They talked about doing it at 165, a weight class that Dana White has said he has no interest in doing, though I think it'd be really good for the sport. I want to see this fight. Nate Diaz, Dustin Poirier have gone back and forth on Twitter. It's an interesting matchup, especially if they do this at 170. Why is either guy going to cut some weight? I feel like it's money fight. It's a pay-per-view fight. It could be a pay-per-view main event, could be at least a co-main event in worst case scenario. And I believe the winner of Nate Diaz, Dustin Poirier could set themselves up for the Money McGregor fight. I'm expecting a 2022 return for Conor. And what better way to set that up by doing Diaz versus Poirier, winner fights McGregor. Obviously, Dana White years ago, I remember he said he never would want to have guys fighting like 4 or 5 times. The Dustin Poirier trilogy was inconclusive because of the leg snap, though Poirier was winning. I want to see it again if he wins. Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor are 1-1. I want to see those two go at it once again. I feel like Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier in itself is a crazy fight. If you have to lean it early, though, you have to go Dustin Poirier because he has the stamina to go long. He's not going to be threatened by takedowns from Nate Diaz. I don't think the power of Nate will be a substantial factor. I feel like Dustin Poirier can go out there and win a decision against Nate Diaz, but Nate is always in the fight, and I feel like this is a matchup that's a must-make in 2022. I think it's a great fight. It's a super fight. Nate Diaz is the money fight at this point, outside of, I guess, Conor McGregor, and I believe the winner's fighting against McGregor. That's the matchup. It's winner of Diaz versus Poirier, fights McGregor, potentially for his return. Hopefully we can get this thing made. There's been teasers of it, but I want to see it actually happen because that is a hardcore fans and casual fans delight. That's just fight fans delight. That's a fight I need. I need it in 2022. The next one might surprise you a bit. Valentina Shevchenko, Juliana Pena 2. Their first fight, Shevchenko was able to win. Wins by submission. I feel like Nunes, does she want to make that weight cut to 35? I don't know. I feel like maybe her time at 35 is past her. She looked bad against Pena in the last one and got beaten. Valentina has a legit chance to become dual champion. Now is the time to make that super fight. If Pena wins, obviously that super fight with Nunes is there. If Valentina wins, I could see her fighting Nunes for the belt. Either way, Nunes will be next in line for the title, regardless of outcome, because she is the long-reigning female greatest women's fighter of all time. But Pena versus Shevchenko gives Valentina a shot to earn that trilogy with Nunes as well as get herself dual champ status. I want to see it. If I'm early leaning this one, I'm giving Valentina Shevchenko the win, probably by a 5-round unanimous decision. Could also see her stopping Pena. I think the clear-cut speed difference is real. I think the technical edge, even in the grappling department, you slightly got to lean at Valentina, though. Juliana Pena has improved since their last fight. She showed that she beat Amanda Nunes. I feel like this is a must-make, and I think that potentially Juliana Pena now, if she wins this fight, gets to put herself in the conversation of greatest women of all time. She's got to be a top-ranked fighter ever if she does that, beating Nunes and Shevchenko, the two best women in the world, I guess, outside of Chris Cyborg of all time. It's a must-see fight. Obviously, it will hold off the rematch with Nunes, but I don't think that's a bad thing because I feel like Nunes and Pena can still happen down the road. Nunes versus Shevchenko can happen. There's so many options available. I want to see this fight. Give me Valentina Shevchenko versus Juliana Pena in 2022. And to me, this is the final and to me probably the most exciting as far as somebody that can challenge Kamaru Usman. It's going to be Usman versus who? You already know. It's Khamzat Chimaev. He's run through every fighter that he has faced so far. I feel like he's about 2 wins away from a title shot. But let's say Kamaru goes out there and wipes the floor with Leon Edwards, which I think most of us are expecting that. Who else really is there? Do we want to see the Luque fight? Do we want to see a Burns rematch, a Covington trilogy? There's going to be one name, and it's going to be Khamzat. Khamzat will either fight Bilal or Neil Magny next. Assuming he wins against either of those men, I think he jumps right into that title shot, and let's find out who the true best in the world is at welterweight, because Khamzat right now looks like the scariest welterweight of all time. He's manhandling opponents. Can he do that to Usman? I don't think it will be to that same level of success. I think Usman gives him hell in there. I think that's the hardest fight of Khamzat's career by a long shot. If I have to pick a winner right now, I'm going to pick Khamzat Chimaev, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get Usman out of there. I could see him have to work for 5 rounds. Now, he had COVID. It affected his lungs. Will that affect him? Will that affect him in this fight? Will he gas out? Will Usman get a TKO? I could see Usman TKO him in the 3rd or 4th round, a tired Khamzat. But can you imagine Khamzat Chimaev goes in there with Kamaru Usman, takes him down, gets on top, and beats the brakes off of him easily. Now we're talking about Khamzat as the scariest welterweight of all time. Right away, he's getting that like upwards of GOAT status quickly. I want to see that matchup. I think on the feet, Khamzat would have success. I think the power of Khamzat, he could actually knock Usman out. If he knocked Kamaru out on the feet, I would not be surprised. This man dropped Alexander Gustafsson in sparring. And Alexander Gustafsson has fought at heavyweight. He's a light heavyweight legend. This is the fight to make. I'm going to lean Khamzat. I think he'll dethrone the champ. So many potential fights in 2022. These are just a handful of them that I'm throwing out to you guys. I think this may be, it definitely will be the best year of mixed martial arts ever. So guys, keep it locked in here at MMA Experts. We'll be covering everything. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to have predictions dropping real soon for UFC Vegas 45, which I can't wait to get into that card with Giga Chikadze versus Calvin Kattar. Keep it locked in, guys. Much love. Thank you all so much for the continued support, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.